Did any other guy feel less of a man while watching this movie? Because I sure did.
Hello there, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and children.
I just got back from watching The Northman. It's a movie that stars Alexander Skarsgård, Nicole Kidman, Ethan Hawke, and Anya Taylor-Joy. It was directed by Robert Eggers, who you know from The Witch, as well as The Lighthouse. And needless to say, this is very much a Robert Eggers type film. If you know him from any of those movies, cinematography is gorgeous, which is exactly what you get from this. But before we get into that, let's go ahead and set you up with the actual movie. Now, I'll try and hold off as many spoilers as possible, but there's your warning just in case, because, I mean, the premise of this movie, it's already out there. So if you don't know anything about this movie, this is what it's about. Basically, we get set up with Ethan Hawke's character, who is the king of an Icelandic kingdom, basically. A Viking location, as you will. And we get introduced to Nicole Kidman, who's the mother of a young Alexander. Now, Ethan Hawke comes back from the battle that he just got from, and we find out that he's injured. Well, we also get introduced to his brother as well. Alexander's uncle, obviously. So what ends up happening is we find out that Ethan Hawke's character is, battle wounded, on the verge of dying. He takes young Alexander to the jester / witch of the location, William Dafoe's character. Here we get a little bit of a historical moment from what the Vikings possibly used to do, very much of culture-wise back in that day. And he's basically telling them, look, one of these days I'm going to die and you have to take over. You are going to be the new king, basically. And once that ceremony's over with the three gentlemen, they of course leave, and what do you know? His father dies by the hand of his brother. It's a very Shakespearean type of movie, where it's very much like a Macbeth, as you will. And if you've seen movies like that before, take Black Panther for example, it's very much like that. So we get set up to the point where Ethan Hawke's character dies from the hands of his brother. At that point, his brother kind of takes over the kingdom and the location in the Viking tribe area. And Alexander escapes, and then we get introduced to an older Alexander who's very much of a savage, who's very much into the ravaging type of manner, who's with a group of guys. They ravage, villages. They burn down the buildings. They kill men, whoever stands in their way. It is a brutastic type of movie. Let's just put it that way. There are swords flying. There's blood gushing. It's very barbaric. Let's just put it that way. When it needs to be, though. Because otherwise, you do get beautiful shots of scenery. That reminds me very closely to, like, Lord of the Rings, of what Peter Jackson did with there. The difference, as far as this movie, as well as the other movies that I've seen, is specifically like The Revenant. We get shots of the stars and the trees and of all that nature, but it lasts way too long. About 10 minutes too long. This movie, they do have shots of the midnight sky or the mountains and the forest, except that they do it in a more cinematography, more artistic style other than The Revenant, to the point where you can actually enjoy it a lot more. And it's exactly that. And if you know Robert Eggers from the movies that I've mentioned, that's his whole gimmick. Like I was saying, it's him. Cinematography based, just beautiful landscapes, that's him. Dark undertone as well. That's very much Robert Eggers. So we get introduced to, of course, an older Alexander Skarsgård pillaging the forests, villages, and then he finds out that the people that they enslaved are going to his old homeland. Except that he finds out that his uncle basically left it for the guy who overtook it, basically. And he wants to overthrow his uncle. Now, he does that because he escapes by dressing up as a slave. And from that point, we do get a first-time introduction to Anya Taylor-Joy's character, who is very much very heart and soul of this movie as well. Because we find out, and of course, she becomes the mother of Alexander's character's babies, twins, apparently. But the dynamic between the two is very connecting, where unlike 50 Shades of Grey, there is very much like a secondhand embarrassment because the connection wasn't there between the two like the actor and the actress. But this movie, it plays that very well, and the character development with Alexander's character is great. It's fantastic. Starts off with a young boy who's very innocent, who becomes this brute of a man. And when I mean brute, I mean as I'm watching this movie, I'm looking at his abs. I'm like, I got nothing. So he just goes and demolishes anything in his way. Now, this movie may not be liked for some, but if you like these types of movies, if you like the movie 300, then you are going to enjoy this movie. Especially if you like Vikings, if you like that history, or going to Norway at Epcot and you like to go over to that location and get a shot, or or get a little history about the location, then this is very much your film. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I know it's one of those movies that you have to have a stomach for because of the gore and because of the brutality of it. But in all honesty, if I don't see this movie in the Golden Globes or in the Oscars for Best Cinematography, and the storyline is amazing as well, because going back to the whole Macbeth and Shakespearean aspect to it, it's just beautifully written, and it does it in the language of the Norwegic location as well, and the Icelandic and the Norwegic, and just all those locations back and from that day. So in my opinion, I would say go watch it, enjoy it, sit back, relax. It is about 2 hours and 17 minutes, and though sometimes it feels like it's going to hit that, and then it just carries on, at the end of it, you are going to feel like an accomplishment, basically. Now, a little spoiler, it's not a movie where the hero comes up on top all the way. He does come up on top. He does avenge his father. But at the end of it, unfortunately, Anya Taylor-Joy's character goes off with his twins being pregnant, and then you have Alexander's character who just dies at the end. So again, it's just one of those movies that, it builds upon that, and it's actually, it feels like an accomplishment after you watch it. So go see it. But in the meantime, if you like what we're doing here, if you like our podcast, go ahead and support us by clicking the link below. You can get a shirt like this, where it is Stop the Traffic. Based on every proceeds we get for this specific shirt, it goes directly to an organization to stop human trafficking, because that is become well known now, as it has been throughout the years, and it needs to still be known, still be talked about. So support Stop the Traffic, hashtag Stop the Traffic, as well as, there are Cavalier family shirts there. There are other shirts there, as far as mugs and designs and everything like that, other than the basic logo. So go ahead and support us by clicking the link below. Follow us on all social platforms, and, comment below. If you've seen it, let us know what you think. Did you like it? Did you not like it? And we'll see you next time.